Good evening and welcome to episode 16 of Brazil Part 2. We're glad you joined us tonight for another episode. Tonight's episode is entitled The End and the Beginning. It's not quite the micro introduction, but we'll go with it. So we want to share with you two experiences that we had with some missionaries, one who was going home and one who was starting his mission. So the first was Elder Luis. And I can't remember why, but for whatever reason, I authorized him to go home a week early from the rest of his group. So as he was doing his out processing, for lack of a better word, it was just him instead of the normal group of missionaries that we have. So as a result, our tradition that we've started here was a little bit different. We went out to dinner. Mm-hmm. We went out to dinner instead of eating here at the mission home. And then normally I do an interview with them, and then we get back together with the group to share our testimonies. Well, it didn't make sense for him to share with me his testimony, then come and share the testimony with Raina. So we actually just sat here and just had a visit for the evening. It was delightful. But it was a great example to me of someone who learned how to do hard things. When he first got here, he told us he didn't think he was going to, the first week, he was ready to quit. But he said, I'm going to make it through 3 months. And then he got to 3 months. He made it to 3 months. He said, no, I'm going to make it for 6 months. Made it for 6 months. Made it for 9. The rest of the story, he made it the rest of his mission. He went from senior companion to, I think, zone leader. Never was a district leader. Served for a long time as an assistant, and was just beloved by everybody here. So this is a great example to us, again, of someone who learned that they could do hard things. And it was just a delightful experience that evening. He just sat here and just asked us questions. What should I look for in a spouse? What should I,
Well, and his background, everyone in his family has been married and divorced two or three times. And he said, I'm scared to death to make this kind of commitment. How do I change the cycle?
And we wouldn't have had that opportunity had it been a much larger group. So we wish a fond farewell to Elder Luis. I'll put a picture of him with his welcome at the airport. So that was our end. Let's talk about the beginning.
We have two brothers in a branch nearby. It's about an hour and a half away, who decided to go on missions. And they put their papers in at the same time.
The older brother had waited because of the pandemic, so he waited a little bit longer.
Yeah, a little bit older. Put their papers in, and wouldn't you know it, the calls came, and the older brother was leaving.
Well, no, what happened was...
You probably ought to tell the story, since you know the details better than I do.
So what had happened, well, I didn't want to be the only one talking the entire episode.
You can just be the only one talking.
Okay, so what had happened was the younger brother gets his mission call, and the branch president calls our predecessor, and says, what's the status with the other one? The mission president had forgot to submit it to Salt Lake. So as a result, the younger brother ends up getting a call date to go in the end of
he just
October, so last week.
Yeah, he just left.
The other one gets processed, and he is going to Japan. And he has been fascinated with Japan his entire life.
And just could not believe that he was going to Japan.
Just so happy. But his call date was the end of December. So his younger brother was kind of, I'm going before you. Well, about a month ago, I get a phone call from the MTC here in Sao Paulo. And you can imagine they actually teach Japanese at the Sao Paulo MTC. For whatever reason, there's only going to be one elder in that group, and you need to have a companionship. So they called and asked if Elder Rocha would be willing to come start his mission 3 months early, so that they could have this group that was starting 2 weeks ago. He was just kind of treading water, waiting till the end of the year. So he said, sure. So literally with a week's notice, he moved up his start date for his mission, but it also allowed him to leave a week before his brother. So just kind of neat how that whole thing just kind of came together. He got to go where he wanted to go, end up leaving before his brother. And last week, were we with? We were with the branch president. And the branch president showed us a video of El Hosha in the MTC for a week, speaking Portuguese, speaking Japanese, and we don't speak Japanese.
Bearing his testimony in Japanese.
But it sure sounded like he was very confident and was doing very well. So even though they aren't, air quotes, our missionaries, well, Elder Luis was certainly, but Elder Rocha and his brother, great to be able to be part of the saints that live here in this area as they begin their mission experience as well. So that's episode 16. Love you.
Love you.